Hey everybody, Ryan FMTG here, and with all the new cards of the Force Seekers, I want to do another card evaluation of this. You know, in the past we have gone color by color talking about each card. In my last video, we talked about the standout cards within the first week from each color, and this is kind of similar. You know, the Force Seekers has been out for almost about a week and a half, and I want to go color by color and choose my favorite, or what I think is the best right now, of the legendaries. Each color has 3 legendaries, 2 units, and 1 action, so I'm kind of putting them head to head and see which one is the best from each color. So maybe if you only have enough souls to really craft one, or, you know, that one that you really want, you kind of know where to go with it, or just, you know, see what other people are playing in the metagame. So why don't we start with red and see which one is the best. So the red action legendary is Disloyal Follower. This is a really strong card because it deals so much damage for 3 MP. Even if you're not playing a Ascend heavy deck, this is still going to do a lot of damage because it's 3 times. So if you've just Ascended twice, this is dealing 6 for 3 MP. That's not the best because, you know, we have 4 damage or 5 damage for 2 MP. But hey, if you get 3 Ascend triggers, this is 9, and that's very good. So overall, I do like this, but it's not my favorite. Lucia is an awesome unit because, yes, base level 5 MP for 1/7 is not that great, but when you resonate, it flips into Demon Form Lucia with Flight, Agility, and it deals 3 damage split among enemy units when it's attacking, and that is such a heavy hitter. Yes, there is one hoop to jump through, and that is you do have to play an action card to flip her. And, you know, sometimes some Ryu list or other red list, and I'm kind of specifically thinking about Ryu because that is the main red deck in this metagame so far, doesn't play tons of actions. It definitely does, you know, play some burn spells to creatures and stuff like that, where it's not hard to flip this, but sometimes you don't, and base level, it's not that great of a card. You know, if you can't flip her, it's not that great. Most games you are going to flip her. So overall, I think this is such a strong card. I think it's really good, but it's not my favorite either. My favorite is Infernal Magma Dragoon. This unit is awesome. It's 6 MP for 2/7 with Heavy Pierce, Anti-Air, and Agility. That means it's hitting hard and fast. Also, the Ascend, it gets +3 attack and shield. Yes, it also gets a drawback of when it dies, it deals damage equal to its attack to your hero, and that is a downside, but this is going to be doing so much damage to your opponent and killing a lot of your opponent's creatures, and also it has Heavy Pierce, which is awesome to get more spillover damage and stuff, that I think overall that downside is definitely worth it. And why this is my favorite red legendary right now is that this can go into most any red list. Yes, it can't really go into a 2-color red list, but that aside, it can go into a Ascend heavy deck, it can go into a kind of old school Ryu list with like even growth or something like that. It's kind of just an all-around unit that just fits into everything compared to the other 2 red legendaries that are much more Ascend centric, even though, or sorry, the action is Ascend centric, and Lucia, you know, you do need some spells. This really doesn't have hoops to jump through, and that's why it is my favorite red legendary. Now, time for green. Green is probably the best color right now in the meta, and, you know, it has some really good legendaries. So I'm going to start with my least favorite, kind of like what we did in red. Natural Cycle, this is a fine card. I've seen it play. I haven't really tested it myself. It seems cute, and it does seem really powerful. Getting +1/+1 to all of the units in your library is really, really nice. But this is a mid to late game, and also you're probably spending 6 mana to basically shuffle your hand in EX Pocket and your opponent's hand in EX Pocket into your library. 6 MP is a lot. So overall, I feel like this is a heavy investment. Yes, the payoff is good, but you lose a lot of tempo with this, and I just don't think it's really worth it overall. The next legendary in the first unit is Felicia. This Felicia is very, very strong legendary for sure. 8 MP for 4/7. It says, when played, add 2 random units cards from your deck to your EX Pocket. If you ascend this, it places 2 units from your EX Pocket onto the field. So if you have an empty field, like let's just say you have 1 unit, you ascend Felicia over that unit, Felicia brings 2 friends, which is so powerful of a fact for 8 MP. However, you are playing this in a green deck, you are usually playing a lot of other Ascend units. The Ascend triggers don't happen, right? If Felicia's bringing other Ascend units with her, those turtles and stuff are going to be 110s or just pretty weak units, so that's not great. But it can get MP units and more food for your other Ascend units. So it's even in the worst case scenario, if you're bringing weak creatures, Felicia's still so powerful. My favorite and what I think is the best green legendary from the sets is none other than Karin. 5 MP for 2/8. Okay, tell me more. Has agility. Okay, that's pretty good because it's going to be hitting for a little bit, but fast. And with Ascend, it gets +2/+2, so it becomes a 4/10, which is humongous with agility. And it inflicts Seal on the unit in front. Seal is so good in this format. Seal against other Ascend units or black units when they die, or just there's so many things that Seal can do for you. And it's giving Seal, and that's almost the extra credit, because this is a 5 MP with agility and on a 410 body is good enough. Seal is just extra credit. So sometimes if you're not sealing like anything or anything of importance, it's fine. Karin is still such a heavy hitter, and definitely right now it looks like a very good, almost must play for quite a few green decks. Purple got some interesting, I'll put it that way, legendaries. Not necessarily bad, but not heavy hitters, or maybe like we need to test around a little bit more. And Silent Assassin is definitely one I need to test out a little bit more. Definitely not terrible, but not my favorite. It's 3 MP for a 1/1 with Rush and Veil. However, it says when you deal attack damage to an enemy unit, remove that unit that was dealt damage from the game. It does have another downside. It says death is -2 to your max MP, so you cannot really play this in a multicolor deck. I guess you could, but not really advisable. Overall, this is a pretty decent unit actually, because think of this as a 3 MP removal spell. That's more or less what it is, because you'll play this. Rush means you can play this and it'll hit first to the unit in front, so you kind of just play this as a removal spell, and that is actually pretty good. So thinking about this as a removal almost action spell just on a unit is pretty good, because this is not going to hit a unit and then stay around, because with 1 HP it's not really going to stay around. So overall I like Silent Assassin. I definitely want to play with it a little bit more. Golden Lady is 6 MP for a 2/8 with Veil and Spillover, which is kind of nice, and it also has Resonate +1 attack. This is nice. It can hit for a lot and trade with a lot of units because of the plus attack. And then it's great that it has spillover, so it's just spreading the damage around. Veil means it's hard for your opponent to deal with it. They have to deal with it with, defending and attacking it. And like I said, with that spillover, it kind of is very good to have on the board. It does say death is a drawback. It's add 2 cards from your deck to your opponent's EX pocket. That is a drawback, because a lot of the times you are playing good cards that you don't necessarily want your opponent to play with. However, just because they're good for you does not mean they're great for your opponent. But you could give like a Dante to your opponent and then die to that Dante, so it is a risk to play this card. But I definitely like it. I definitely think it's a risk that's worth taking for some purple decks, not all purple decks. My least favorite part about this card is the 8 HP. 8 is pretty low, especially against like Ryu, where yes, they can't Hadoken it, but as soon as they deal 1 damage to this, then they can use their Hero Art to destroy this. And in my mind, this kind of wants to fit into a big Resonate style purple deck, and you want a lot of HP like Ibuki and Co, because then it's harder for Ryu and other such things to destroy your unit. Overall, I like Golden Lady. I think this is a good card and definitely fun to play with, because it's just this big behemoth that keeps on hitting and spilling over, but not my favorite purple legendary. My favorite purple legendary is actually the action one of Ceasefire. It's 2 MP, which is nice and cheap for a purple action, which is exactly what you want with like 3.5 Morgan, or especially big Resonate style decks. It says lock all empty board slots for 10 seconds. It's all empty board slots, meaning you and your opponents. 10 seconds isn't the most, but think of it as halt spell for empty board slots. And it's really nice because, especially in a big Resonate style deck, you play your Ibuki, then you play this. You can play your Ibuki where the other lane is empty. You play this, and then they can't play anything for 10 seconds. And then once they play something, then you start halting it. Yes, there are some hoops to jump through, and mainly the hoop to jump through is, if all the boards are full already with units, and a lot of times big Resonate style decks aren't killing units, they're just halting them over and over and over again. So if your enemy has all the units full, this could kind of be dead in hand. So definitely maybe think about that and play around with it. Maybe this is the first one you play right after you play your Ibuki or Ko, something like that. So yes, there are some hoops to jump through to make this good, but I think just base level, this is very good. And even if it's dead in hand, you still have other cards to play. Last but not least is black. So my least favorite black legendary, and one that I actually think might just be the worst? I don't know, the green action one I don't really like at all, so maybe I like this a little bit better than the green action, but still, Vile is not my favorite. It's 3 MP for 0/3. It says when played, it gets +1/+1 for each time a friendly black unit has had the Ascend status this battle. Note it is black unit, so this doesn't really fit into a multicolor Ascend deck. That's not really that big of a drawback. But +1/+1 is nice. But how many times are you really going to Ascend in each and every game? This needs to be quite a few in order for me to be really happy with playing this, because everything else is vanilla, right? Like, it doesn't kill a unit, it doesn't do damage when it dies or anything. It's vanilla. It's going to just be a creature and a body. Yes, it is 3 MP, so that is cheap, but Ascend is sometimes hard to trigger, and this is definitely a mid to late game where, yes, if you can Ascend 5 times before playing this becomes a 5/8 for 3 MP, which is good. But so many times it's like you have this in your opener, you haven't Ascended that much, or the game's just over. You win or lose, and this is just dead in hand the whole time. So it's not like I think Vile is terrible by any means, but I just don't think it's that good or that exciting either. Okubo is a very cool one, but not my favorite black legendary. It's 8 MP for a 6/3. 8 MP is a lot. That is definitely on the higher end of units that you want to be playing. And a 6/3 is not that impressive. Like that's a very bad rate. However, when played, it destroys the unit in front. That's awesome. That is actually really, really good. That's fantastic. It's like obliteration with then attached to a 6/3 body. But if you Ascend it, it turns to Demon God Oni. Oni is, this unit is Ascended, of course. It says, victory destroys a random unit with an MP cost of 4 or less. That is awesome. After a friendly unit is placed on the field, destroy that unit. So that's a downside. So, you definitely do not want to be playing other units when Oni is on the battlefield. And it's an 8/11 body. Your opponent has to deal with it. They can remove it just like outright with a removal spell, because at 8/11 will actually trade, and the victory is awesome, or it's just hitting for a lot, right? 8 is so big an attack where it's actually going to be hitting your opponent and pressuring them to make sure that they're removing this. So overall, I really like Akuma. However, even though I like Akuma, Cruel Game is my favorite black legendary from the set. It's 7 MP for a removal spell, which 7 MP seems a little high for a removal spell because, Obliteration is 6 MP, right? And that's kind of the catch-all, no-nonsense removal, kill anything. And that's 6 MP. However, 7 MP is just 1 more, so not tons more. And it says, randomly destroy units on the field until both you and your opponent have the same number of units. That is awesome because this can be a one-sided wrath effect. So if you have 0 units and they've just flooded the board with 3 units, you play this, you kill all 3. So paying 1 MP more than, Obliteration is definitely worth it to kill 3 units. You also, if you have 1 unit, they have 2 units or 3 units, let's say 3, you kill 2 of their units and you keep yours and they keep their 1 unit then. Yes, it is random, so maybe you're leaving them with their best unit and you destroyed kind of 2 little, just no nonsense units, but it's still a nice 2 for 1. So I definitely think Cruel Game has some play to it, and you might kind of hold this or maybe play sub-optimally, maybe take a little damage to bait them into playing more, and then Cruel Game can be really good. And yes, it is random, so there is some RNG, but overall, I really like Cruel Game. So overall, those are my picks for my favorite legendaries from each and every color. Most colors, actually every color, got a very good legendary, sometimes even 2, sometimes even 3. And there's really only a couple legendaries in my mind that are kind of unplayable, or at least very, very weak, where even, like I said, the base level of legendaries are usually pretty good. And, the Force Seekers definitely does not fall short of that. But the next videos will actually be testing out meta decks and in the meta field, or maybe some budget decks. We'll kind of see how I feel. But in the meantime, thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time.